The day I refused to pay for my brother's dream. I found out who my real family was. When I heard, "You're not part of this family anymore," it felt like a knife straight to the chest. Even now, when I think about it, it still feels unreal. Like one of those nightmares that wakes you up in the middle of the night, breathing hard, trying to figure out what's real. And honestly, the way my mother said it was what hit me the hardest. She didn't yell. She didn't lose control. She said it like it was nothing, like she was throwing away something that no longer had any use. In that moment, I felt disposable, like everything I had done for them meant absolutely nothing. We were sitting in the rocking chairs in their backyard on a Saturday afternoon, the sun hitting our faces at their house in Bernal Heights. My name is Courtney Neal. I'm 33, married to Marcus for 2 years, and a mom to Oliver, who had just turned 1. I work as an editor-in-chief for a lifestyle magazine in San Francisco, and I've built a life that's stable, structured, and very intentional. The kind where you think you've done things the right way. I've always been the one who fixes things, the one who helps, the one who holds everything together without needing to tell the whole world about it. For a long time, I did that for my family too, without asking for anything in return. I paid my father's medical bills when things got tight, covered this, helped with that, trips, gifts, big things, small things. I was never the type to keep score, because to me, when love is real, you don't turn everything into a bill. My brother was there too, Dylan, the youngest, the one who always got more time, more patience, more excuses. That day, he showed up with a plan. He wanted to open an auto repair shop in Oakland. He talked about rent, tools, permits, clients, the future. My parents listened with that look people get when they've already decided to believe in something before it even makes sense. Then the part that actually mattered came out. $150,000. And the second that number hit the air, they looked at me and asked for the money. I just stared at them for a second, trying to understand when that conversation had stopped being about Dylan's dream and started being about my bank account. Sweetheart, if you can't help your brother, then maybe you shouldn't come around anymore. I felt my body lock up inside, but I didn't give her what she wanted. I just adjusted Oliver on my lap, felt his little hand tugging at my hair, stood up and said, "I'm not paying for that." No yelling, no scene. I was just direct and clear enough, and the mood changed immediately. My father didn't defend me. He didn't ask her to calm down. He didn't try to soften any of it. He just sat there, quiet, like he agreed with every word. Then my mother added, "You're so selfish. You never cared about this family." And that was when I understood this wasn't a request. It was a test. If you've ever had a moment like that, where your own family only seems to see you when you're giving them something, leave a like. That way I'll know I'm not the only one. Because what happened after that afternoon made one thing very clear. They weren't rejecting me over money. They were punishing me for saying no for the first time. I didn't argue with her, not because it didn't hurt, but because I already understood what was happening. I stood there for a second after I said it, still holding Oliver against me, feeling his fingers tangled in my hair like nothing around us had changed. He didn't know. He was just there, calm, trusting, completely unaware that something had just broken. "Wow," Dylan said, leaning back in his chair. "That's it?" I looked at him. "That's it," I answered. He let out a short laugh, shaking his head like I had just disappointed him in some predictable way. "I thought you of all people would get it," he added. That part almost made me react. Almost, but I didn't. Because this wasn't about him understanding anything. It never was. My mother crossed her arms, watching me like she was waiting for me to back down. Like this was the part where I would sigh, sit back down, and say fine. I didn't move. "You're really going to walk away over this?" she asked. I held her gaze. "I'm not the one making that choice," I said. That shifted something, even if just a little. My father finally looked up, but it wasn't to defend me. "It's just help," he said, like he was simplifying the situation. Family helps each other. I nodded once. I have been, I said, and I didn't need to list it. Not for them. They already knew. That was the part that made it worse. Dylan leaned forward this time, elbows on his knees, more serious now. It's not like I'm asking for nothing, he said. I have a plan. I heard your plan, I replied. And? He pushed. And it's your plan, I said. Simple, clean, not aggressive, but it landed. His expression changed for a second, subtle, but enough, like he wasn't used to hearing that. My mother shook her head, already done with the conversation. Unbelievable, she muttered. After everything we've done for you. I almost smiled at that. Not because it was funny, because it was predictable. I adjusted Oliver again and stepped back from the chairs, putting a little distance between me and them. No one tried to stop me. No one softened. No one reconsidered. That told me everything. As I walked toward the side gate, I could feel their eyes on me. Not worried, not concerned, judging, measuring. Like I had just failed something important. I didn't turn back, because I already knew. There was nothing behind me I needed to fix anymore. I didn't cry when I left. I walked out through the side gate, holding Oliver against me, and went straight to the car like it was just another normal visit ending. But it wasn't. Marcus was already inside, waiting. He had stayed quiet through most of it, just watching, the way he always does when something doesn't feel right. He looked at me the second I opened the door. That bad? He asked. I strapped Oliver into his seat first, taking a second longer than usual, just to steady my hands. They told me not to come back, I said. He didn't react right away, just watched me. For saying no? I nodded. He leaned back slightly, exhaling through his nose. All right, he said. Then we don't go back. Simple, direct, no drama. I got in and closed the door, the quiet inside the car completely different from the tension I had just left behind. For a second, neither of us said anything. I looked out the window at the same street I'd known for years. Same houses, same sidewalks, same place I had come to over and over again without thinking twice. It didn't feel the same anymore. They asked for 150? Marcus asked after a moment. Yes. And expected you to just cover it? Yes. Another pause. And when you didn't, they made it clear I wasn't family. I said it the same way it had been said to me. Clean. No emotion added. Marcus looked at me again. You're not wrong, he said. I know. That was the part that made it worse. If I had doubts, maybe it would have been easier to bend, to question myself, to smooth it over. But I didn't. I leaned back against the seat and closed my eyes for a second. They meant it, I said. Marcus didn't hesitate. I know. I opened my eyes again and looked forward. Okay, I said, because if that was the line they chose to draw, I wasn't going to be the one crossing it. The drive home was quiet, not cold, not tense. Just quiet in that very specific way things get when both people already know the truth, and there's nothing useful to soften. Oliver fell asleep before we were even halfway home. I could hear his breathing from the back seat, small and steady, while I kept looking out the window like the city had somehow changed in the last 20 minutes. It hadn't, but I had. Marcus kept one hand on the wheel, the other resting near the console, calm like always. He didn't fill the silence just to make me feel better. That was one of the things I loved most about him. He knew the difference between comfort and noise. When we stopped at a light, he finally looked at me. Are you okay? He asked. It was a fair question, and still I almost laughed. Because no, I wasn't okay, but I also wasn't falling apart. I was somewhere in the middle, in that strange place where the hurt is sharp, but the clarity is sharper. No, I said, but I will be. He nodded once, like that answer made perfect sense. By the time we got home, I was tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. I took Oliver inside, changed him, fed him, moved through the rest of the evening the way women do when life is cracking somewhere in the background and there are still practical things that need to get done. But even while I was warming a bottle and picking toys up off the floor, one thought kept circling in my head. They expected me to come back. That was the part that stayed with me. Not just the rejection, the confidence behind it, the certainty that I would sit with their cruelty, think about it, feel guilty, and then return ready to pay. They knew me that way. Or at least they thought they did. And that, more than my mother's words, was what started to shift something in me. Because for the first time, I could see the pattern without dressing it up as love. The next morning, nothing came from them. No message, no call, no attempt to walk anything back. And that told me more than anything they had said the day before. I was in the kitchen, holding my coffee with both hands, staring at my phone on the counter like it might light up at any second. It didn't. Marcus walked in, already dressed for work, and glanced at me, then at the phone. "They haven't reached out," he said. "No." He nodded once, like he expected that. "Do you want them to?" he asked. I thought about it for a second. Not emotionally. Practically. "No," I said. But I noticed. That was the difference. It wasn't about needing them to fix it. It was about seeing clearly that they wouldn't. I picked up my phone and opened our family group chat. It was still there. Same name, same old messages, photos, plans, birthdays, random conversations that now felt like they belonged to someone else's life. No new messages. I stared at it for a second, then locked the screen again. "They think you'll fold," Marcus said, leaning against the counter. I looked at him. "Yeah," I said. "They do." Because that's how it had always worked. Pressure, silence, distance. And then I would come back, adjust myself, and fix whatever needed fixing. I took a sip of coffee, slower this time. "That's not happening," I added. Marcus didn't answer right away. He just watched me for a second, then gave a small nod. "I know," he said. Upstairs, I heard Oliver moving through the monitor. Normal life. Still going. I set the cup down and reached for it, listening for a second before heading toward the stairs. And right there, halfway between the kitchen and the rest of the house, one thought settled in a way it hadn't before. They didn't just expect me to pay. They expected me to come back and apologize for not paying. That was the part that stayed. Because it meant this wasn't new. It was just the first time I had stopped playing along. And tell me something. How much does someone think they can take from you before they call it love? If this kind of story hits a nerve, subscribe. Because after that silence, I stopped waiting for them to explain themselves and started paying attention to what they were hiding. The answer came 3 days later, and it didn't come from my parents. It came from Dylan. He texted me at 8:14 on a Tuesday morning, like we were still the kind of siblings who could slide into a conversation without dragging the wreckage in with us first. "So that's it? You're really choosing money over family?" I looked at the screen for a second and actually felt my jaw tighten. Not because I was surprised. Because I wasn't. That was exactly how this worked in my family. Someone crossed a line, and somehow the conversation still came back to my attitude. My tone. My refusal. Never the actual damage. Never the entitlement. Never the pressure. Just me, failing to be useful. I didn't answer right away. I made Oliver's breakfast first, wiped down the counter. Let the message sit there while I moved through the kitchen, trying not to react too quickly. Marcus came in while I was rinsing a bottle. "You got that look," he said. I handed him my phone. He read the message once, then gave it back. "That's not an apology," he said. "No," I answered. "It's an accusation." Because it was. Not one word about what my mother said. Not one word about cutting me off. Not one word about the fact that they had tried to corner me into funding something none of them could afford. Just that same old script. Family. As long as family meant me paying. I typed 3 different responses and deleted all of them. Then I wrote one line. No. I'm choosing not to be used. I stared at it for a second, then hit send. He read it almost immediately. The typing bubble came up. Went away. Came back. Then finally, "You've changed." I looked at that message and almost laughed. Because yes, I had. And for the first time, I didn't feel the need to explain why. That message stayed in my head longer than it should have. "You've changed." I didn't respond. There was nothing to explain, and more importantly, nothing I needed him to understand. But it made something click. Because for the first time, they weren't just reacting to my decision. They were reacting to the fact that I wasn't reacting the way I used to. No guilt, no panic, no backtracking, just no. That's what was bothering them. Later that afternoon, my phone rang again. This time, it was my mother. I looked at the screen for a second before answering. "Hi," I said. No warmth, no distance, just neutral. She didn't say hi back. "I heard you spoke to your brother," she said, straight to the point. "I did." A short pause. "You didn't have to be so cold," she added. I almost smiled. Cold. That was new. "I was clear," I said. "That's not the same thing," she replied, sharper now. I leaned back slightly in my chair, letting her words sit. Because this wasn't about tone, it was about control. "You're turning this into something bigger than it needs to be," she continued. "This is family. We support each other." I let her finish. Then I answered. "I have," I said. Silence. Not confusion. Recognition. "You're choosing to focus on the one time I said no," I continued, calm. "Not on everything I've already done." Her tone shifted. "That's not fair," she said. There it was. Fairness. Finally. "What's not fair," I replied, "is telling me I'm not family because I won't give you $150,000. She didn't answer right away. And for a second, I could hear something in the background. Movement. A door closing. Like she had stepped away from someone. When she spoke again, her voice was lower. "You know that's not what I meant." I didn't soften. "It's exactly what you said." Another pause. This one longer. Different. "You're making this harder than it has to be," she said. I looked down at my hand resting on the table, steady. "No," I answered. "I'm just not fixing it for you." That landed. Because that's what I had always done. Until now. And she felt the difference. She didn't hang up right away. That was unusual. Normally, when my mother felt like she wasn't getting control of a conversation, she ended it. Clean. Final. Like she had already decided there was nothing left worth saying. But this time, she stayed. "You're overreacting," she said, quieter now, like she was trying a different angle. I didn't respond immediately, because I was watching it happen. The shift. From pressure to adjustment. "I'm not," I said. "You are," she insisted. "This isn't about money, Courtney." I let that sit for a second, because that was exactly what it was about. Just not in the way she wanted to admit. "Then what is it about?" I asked. A pause. Not long. Just enough to show she was choosing her words carefully now. "It's about showing up for your family," she said. There it was again. Same script, different tone. I leaned back slightly in my chair, keeping my voice steady. "I have shown up," I said. "More than once." "You're throwing things in our face now?" she shot back, faster this time. I almost shook my head. Because that was always the move. If I named what I had done, I was throwing it in their face. If I stayed quiet, it didn't count. "I'm stating facts," I said. Silence. Then a small shift in her breathing. "You're making this about you," she said. And that was the moment it became clear. Because up until then, there was still a part of me, small, but there, that wondered if this conversation could land somewhere different. It couldn't. "Of course I am," I said. You told me I'm not family anymore. That stopped her. Completely. No quick response, no correction. Just quiet. And for the first time in that entire call, she didn't have a line ready. When she finally spoke again, her voice was different. Lower. Less certain. That's not what I meant, she said. I didn't move. Then say what you meant, I replied. Another pause. Longer this time. But she didn't. She couldn't, because saying it out loud would mean owning it. And that was something she had never done. Not with me. Not once. Just think about it, she said instead. I let a second pass. I already did. And I ended the call. After that call, they stopped trying to convince me. They switched to something else. Silence. With intention. Days went by. No messages. No calls. No updates. Not even something casual to pretend nothing had happened. But I started noticing small things. My aunt unfollowed me. A cousin I barely talked to stopped liking anything I posted. Then one of my parents' friends sent me a message. I don't know what's going on, but I hope you fix things with your family. They're really hurt. I read it twice. Not because I didn't understand it, because I understood it perfectly. They weren't talking to me. They were talking about me, and they were telling their version. I didn't respond to the message. I just locked my phone and set it down, feeling that same steady clarity settle in again. This wasn't distance. This was positioning. Marcus noticed it before I said anything. They're controlling the narrative, he said one night, sitting across from me while I scrolled through my phone. I looked up. Yeah, I said. They are. Because that's what it was. They weren't reaching out to fix anything. They were making sure that, from the outside, it looked like I had walked away. Like I had chosen money over family. Like I had become difficult. I leaned back in my chair, letting that settle without reacting. Because the truth didn't need to be defended immediately. It just needed to be held. They've done this before, haven't they? Marcus asked. I didn't answer right away. But I didn't need to. Because the answer was in the way my chest tightened just a little. Not new, just clearer now. They just never had to do it against me, I said. And that was the shift. For years I had been inside that system, the one who smoothed things over, the one who helped, the one who kept things balanced. Now I was outside of it, and from the outside, it was easier to see exactly how it worked. I picked up my phone again, opened my blog dashboard, and stared at the blank draft page. I didn't write anything yet, but the thought was there. Clear. If they wanted to tell a version of the story, so could I. I didn't post it right away. I sat with it for a full day, going back and forth, not about the story itself, but about what it would change once it was out there. Because I knew it would. This wasn't just venting. It wasn't a random post. If I wrote it, people would read it. A lot of people. And once it was out, I couldn't take it back. Marcus didn't push me. He just looked at me at one point and said, "If you do it for the right reason." I knew what that meant. Not revenge, not exposure for the sake of it. Clarity. So I wrote it. No names, no exaggeration, no drama, just exactly what happened. The request, the number, the condition, the sentence that cut everything clean. You're not part of this family anymore. I read it twice before publishing. Then I hit post. At first, nothing happened. A few views, a couple of comments. Then it started to move. Shares, messages, people relating in ways I wasn't expecting. Stories that sounded different on the surface but carried the same pattern underneath. By the end of the day, it wasn't just my story anymore. It was something bigger. And that's when my phone rang. My mother. I let it ring once. Twice. Then I answered. "What did you do?" she asked, no greeting, no hesitation. I stayed calm. I told the truth. "You had no right to expose us like that," she said, sharper now. "I didn't expose anyone," I replied. "I didn't use names." You know exactly what you did. Yes, I did. And for the first time, I didn't feel the need to soften it. You told people I'm not family, I said. I just didn't keep it quiet. Silence. Then a shift. You need to take it down, she said. No. That came out clean. No pause. No doubt. You're making this worse, she added. I let that sit for a second. No, I said. I'm just not protecting it anymore. Another silence. Longer this time. Different. Because this time, she didn't have control of what came next, and she knew it. If you don't take that down, she said slowly, you're going to regret it. I almost smiled. Not because it was funny, because it was familiar. I don't think I will, I said, and I ended the call. That night, after everything settled, I sat on the floor of Oliver's room while he slept, one hand resting lightly on the side of his crib. Quiet. Still. Real. And for the first time in days, I didn't feel pulled in two directions. Just one. Forward. If you were in my place, would you have stayed quiet or done the same? Because sometimes the only way to break something like that is to stop pretending it's normal.